T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery, hoisting harmony to the heavens and opening new gateways for international science. Discovery has cleared the tower.
Houston now controlling.
I need you to hear this clearly. What if the rise of Donald Trump was not just politics but a sign? What if it was something already written, something already shown to us in the Bible thousands of years ago? Not by name, no, but by pattern, by timing, by the kind of leader that appears in the last days. Because when you open your Bible and read Ezekiel chapter 38, and then you go to Daniel chapter 7, something starts to feel different. It does not feel old, it does not feel distant, it feels like now. It feels like what we are watching right in front of our eyes, and that should make you stop for a second, because if that is true, then we are not just living in normal times. Many people laughed when Donald Trump first came into power. They said he was too bold, too different, too unpredictable. But others looked deeper. They saw something unusual, a leader rising at a time when the world was already shifting, a leader who would stand strongly with Israel, who would challenge global systems, who would not follow the normal script. And when you look at prophecy, especially in Ezekiel 38, you begin to see that in the last days there will be strong movements between nations, especially around Israel. Then when you read Daniel chapter 7, it talks about kingdoms rising one after another, power shifting from one to another, until a final season comes where everything changes. So the question becomes, is this one of those moments? Now think about the world today. You hear about Iran, you hear about Israel, you hear about the United States. You hear about tensions, strikes, warnings, alliances forming quietly behind closed doors. At first it just sounds like news, just another conflict, but when you slow down and remember that Iran is ancient Persia, a name clearly mentioned in Ezekiel 38, it starts to feel different. It starts to feel like we are watching something that has already been written. Let's tell this as a story so you can follow it clearly. Imagine a leader named Marcus Vail. He rises at a time when the world is already confused, people are divided, nations do not trust each other. Marcus is not like the leaders before him. He speaks directly, he makes bold moves, he does not try to please everyone. Some people support him strongly, others reject him completely, there is no middle ground with him. Marcus forms a strong connection with a nation we will call Zerah. This land is small but very important, it has a deep history, it has been attacked many times yet it still stands. People around the world watch what happens there, and Marcus makes it clear that he will stand with Zerah no matter what. This alone begins to shift global balance. Then there is another nation called Paran. Paran is not just any nation, it is ancient, it was once powerful in history, it is connected to stories in the Bible, but in modern times it is known for conflict and strong control. Paran does not trust Zerah. In fact, there has been tension between them for many years. Now this is where it gets serious. Ezekiel chapter 38 speaks about Persia, which we now know as Iran, being part of a future coalition. It speaks about a group of nations coming together. It speaks about movement toward Israel, which we are calling Zerah in this story. It does not give us exact dates, but it gives us a clear picture. So when you see Paran becoming more active, more aggressive, more involved in regional conflict, it makes you pause. At the same time something else is happening. There is a powerful northern nation which we will call Rovan. This nation has strength, influence, and a long history of opposing Western powers. Over time Rovan and Paran begin to grow closer, they find common ground, they share interests, they begin to support each other. Now imagine hearing reports that Rovan is quietly helping Paran, not loudly, not publicly, but behind the scenes, intelligence sharing, strategic support. That is not small, that is not normal, and suddenly Ezekiel 38 starts to feel very real because it describes a northern power, it describes Persia, it describes a coalition forming. But let's not rush, let's stay careful. The Bible gives us truth, but it does not give us every detail in a way we can easily match to today's headlines. We must not force things, but we also should not ignore clear patterns. Now back to our story. Marcus Vail continues to stand with Zerah, Paran responds with force, there are missile attacks, there are counterattacks, The situation grows tense and other nations watch closely. Some nations support Marcus, some support Paran, but many stand on the side. They speak but they do not act. Ezekiel also mentions this. It speaks about nations that question the invasion. They ask, "Have you come to take plunder?" They speak but they do not join the battle. This is exactly what we see today, a divided world. Now let's go to Daniel chapter 7 again. It shows us something important. It shows that human power is temporary, kingdoms rise but they also fall, leaders come but they do not stay forever, and then it speaks about something greater, a final kingdom, a dominion that will never end. This is not about politics anymore, this is about God's plan. So when people say that Donald Trump's rise could be part of prophecy, they are not saying he is the final answer, they are saying he could be part of the setup, a sign, a moment that shows we are getting closer to the final stage, because prophecy is not always about one person, it is about a sequence of events, it is about timing. Now look again at what is happening. Tension in the Middle East, Iran becoming more active, alliances forming, Israel standing at the center, a strong Western leader supporting Israel openly, a divided global response. All of this fits a pattern, not perfectly, not completely, but closely enough to make you think. Now here is something many people miss. While all this is happening on the outside, something quiet is happening on the inside. Inside Paran there are people who are changing, there are small groups of believers growing, they meet in homes, they pray quietly, they risk their lives for their faith, they do not have power, they do not have protection, but they have belief, and their numbers are growing. That is something no war can stop. Now think about that for a moment. While leaders fight, while nations argue, while missiles fly, faith is growing quietly in places where it should not survive, and that tells you something deeper is happening. Now let's go back to Ezekiel. It describes a moment when the coalition moves towards Zerah. They come with confidence, they believe they will succeed, but then something unexpected happens. Confusion breaks out, they turn on each other, the unity breaks, and then comes judgment, not from another nation but from God himself. The ground shakes, the situation changes suddenly, what looked strong falls apart. This shows us something very important. No matter how powerful human plans look, they are not in control, God is still in control. Now bring your mind back to today. We see strong leaders, we see powerful nations, we see advanced weapons, but none of that is final because Daniel chapter 7 reminds us that a greater kingdom is coming, a kingdom that will not fall, a kingdom that will not be replaced, and that kingdom belongs to Jesus Christ. So while people argue about politics, while they debate who is right and who is wrong, the Bible keeps bringing us back to one simple truth: this world is not the end, there is something greater coming. Now let me ask you something directly. If all of this is true, if we are seeing signs, if we are getting closer to what the Bible described, then what does that mean for you? Because it is easy to watch from a distance, it is easy to treat this like information, but this is not just information, this is a call, not a call to fear, but a call to wake up. Because the biggest battle is not the one between nations, it is the one inside your heart. It is the choice between truth and lies, between light and darkness, between following the world or following God. In our story, as the world becomes louder, some people begin to step back, they begin to think deeply, they begin to ask real questions. What if this is not random? What if God is calling people right now? What if there is still time to turn back? Back in Paran, those quiet believers continue to grow. They continue to believe, even with danger around them, they do not stop. That is powerful, that is real, and maybe that is the most important part of everything, not the wars, not the leaders, but the choice each person makes. So yes, the rise of Donald Trump may be a sign. Yes, the events in the Middle East may be part of a larger picture. Yes, the connections to Ezekiel 38 and Daniel May 7th be closer than we think, but at the end of it all, one question remains. Are you ready? Because one day all of this will make complete sense, one day everything written will be fulfilled, and on that day it will not matter how much you knew, it will matter what you chose. So do not ignore this, do not push it away, take a moment and think about it. And if this message made you stop, if it made you think even for 1 minute, then do not just move on like nothing happened. Stay with this journey, like this video so more people can see it, share it with someone who needs to hear this, And subscribe to this channel because we are going to keep talking about these things in a simple and real way, with no confusion and no fear, just truth, because times are changing and you do not want to be the one who ignored the signs when they were right in front of you.